Hey everybody, Kane here, and welcome to another video of Art of Conquest. In this one, we are going to talk about scorpions. The thing is, I tested them about 10 days ago or so, and honestly, they were not really that bad. And there are reasons why as to I kind of want to play them, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But before that, we have to make a comparison to Bone Soldiers. So, I did stream about 10 days ago or so for an hour with Scorpion. So if you want to see some replays, you might as well just join in to that stream. It's still on YouTube and you can check some stuff out. About an hour into the stream, I swapped back to Bone Soldiers because the tiers of the Scorpions were too small for the stage I was in, as well as I didn't have one specific buff that we're gonna talk about as well. So, first things first, the buffs that Bone Soldiers have. So they have joint defense, which is evade chance. Now, as far as I know, to my knowledge, many heroes do area damage. Not all of them, but many heroes, and I do believe most of the mages' area DPS, at the very least, cannot be evaded. That means stuff like, say, Avril, Tisophin's area damage, say, Ophidion's area damage, Arian's area damage, Valerie's area damage necessarily cannot be blocked. Maybe the tiny little ball from Valerie, but the splash damage from the Lotus Fire cannot. So essentially, this buff is not really that useful on such a frontline. Now we have the Cursed Blade, right? It has damage reduction by 4%. Majority of the skeletons on your field are not actually able to get this buff because there is only a very small amount of skeletons which will actually be attacking. And it says after each attack, there is a chance. So not even the attacking ones can actually stack it pretty quickly. Yes, 40% chance is high, but still, it kind of requires a lot of stacking. And when revived, you get 5 stacks. Doesn't matter, you don't have invincibility. It will just get deleted in one shot. So then it has the Covenant buff, which is 25% of their max HP. Well, if 5 skeletons die, then you kind of can double the HP bar of the other skeletons in a sense with an additional shield. But that doesn't matter because that shield will be 1 procced or 2 procced by an enemy's Avril's Arcanate, or say a couple of Thunders or Thunderstrucks from Lee. And that's it. That's all that the skeleton would be able to tank in majority of the time. And then all the other buffs don't really do that much. And then of course we have Eternal Will, which is pretty much invincibility. So pretty much all of these buffs don't really mean that much anymore. Yes, like I do believe the Covenant is still kind of useful as one of the, say, secondary buffs. But the strongest tankiness buff on the Bone Soldiers is the invincibility. And because of that, because they don't have a lot of tanky buffs, they're small units, they just get exploded in seconds. And in majority of the fights, I can lose most of my skeletons in the first 20 seconds. Sometimes 15 seconds. It really depends who I face. And usually I face a lot higher core people, a lot higher people in terms of attack values and buffs and bonuses and stuff like that. So there are a lot of differences in terms of what I face. Now, why did I try Scorpions? The thing about Scorpions is that they do have a lot of buffs. Now, I did swap research back, so there are a few things that will be missing. One of them is more regeneration with the regenerative tissue ability. And I believe all of the others are just basic passive bonuses, if I'm not mistaken. They do get +1 to their size as well. And pretty much all others are just basic bonuses to the particular army. Dunlord accelerates cell regeneration, boosting its HP regen and gaining 75% damage reduction that gradually reduces to 0 over the next 15 seconds. So, what happens here is you have an active ability, in which case you would be able to deny a little bit more of the damage if the enemy ever was breaking through and you have like one additional Scorpion squad still alive after the initial 20 seconds. So this one we actually have to read in terms of the Covenant, because it kind of changes the effect. So upgrades the primal shield of the Scorpions, changing its effect, forms a shield from Lich primal energies that reduces damage taken by 70%. It reduces damage taken by 70% during first 20 seconds of the battle. Now, did I mention that I lose majority of my, say, bone soldiers in the first 20, or a good portion of that? And there is something that happens with that as well. So during this particular, say, reduction, yes, some Scorpions, like a couple, can actually die, but majority of the tankiness also depends on your heroes as well for the Scorpions to survive. When Scorpio's HP first falls below 50%, grants damage reduction of 99% for 2 seconds and increases healing effects by 100%. Of course, GAN increases HP, provides healing, depends what kind of a dragon you have, can also be better. And then, of course, all the other buffs and bonuses. So what happens here is that this particular unit is pretty much one of the very few units, I think, similar effect you can actually see on the Dwarf mechs. But Dwarf mechs is like 10 to 15 second tankiness. This one actually can hold out for about 25 seconds with not taking an incredibly huge amount of damage. And after those 25 seconds, they will start to take a decent amount of damage. That is because of their ability. So this one in particular, which I explained, is one of the main reasons of it actually being incredibly tanky. Then it's not even all. For every 15 range damage received, they gain permanent 5.5% ranged damage reduction. Max 5 stacks. At 5 stacks, Dunlord gains another primal shield for 5 seconds. So basically you have 25-second primal shield, and if even during that the unit goes below 50%, then you pretty much will be evading all of the damage on them, or like 99% of it, for 2 seconds, which is another huge buff. So about 27 seconds minimum, majority, not all of them, but majority of your Scorpions essentially going to be able to survive. Then they have another debuff, reducing magic resistance. That's good, because, for example, it can kind of help out your Avril, your Valerie, your Tisiphone, Ophidia, Arian to do more damage as you're pincering and one-shot quicker. There is another thing, and that is Cosmic. So Cosmic adds another tankiness buff. And then we have to go on to the, say, level 3 buff. Let's see. Unlocks the Scorpion's Thorn Barrier in the first 20 seconds of the battle. Reduces ranged damage taken by 25%. And then Thorn Barrier for Scorpions reduces ranged damage taken by 40% in the first 20 seconds. Meanwhile, units taking damage has a chance to reduce attack speed, which does not stack. Now, the thing about that, it kind of goes forward. So we have Bone Soldiers, which are able to, at the very least, tank for about minimum 15 seconds to 20 seconds, but have the ability to be deleted very quickly. Now we have Scorpions, which are incredibly tanky for about 20 to 25 seconds, depending on circumstances. So, after that, you have to judge what happens in the fight and what you're able to do in that fight. Now, again, it's kind of hard to explain because accounts are very different. So for example, when I use bone soldiers, those bone soldiers run in front of the heroes and sometimes take damage in front of the heroes, and the heroes survive longer, and then the heroes are able to provide a little bit more. The thing about scorpions is they are good tanks individually, but they are not good defenders of heroes. What that means is your gladiators will have to perform a lot better than with bone soldiers, because scorpions do not walk in front of your heroes, meaning your research will have to be even better than mine. With mine, I think I could pull it off, not at the top level as, say, I would be with tier 21 bone soldiers, but I think I would be at the very least down like 20 to 50 points maybe or so. But the other thing is, I'm going to touch on that in just a second more, is that all of these buffs have physical resistances, or some of them they can buff or evade a decent portion of least damage, and least damage can even one-shot the tank. So can you actually really tank well right now? I don't really know. But aside from that, if you also reduce the amount of army on the field, in this case I have like 114 in terms of skeletons, and I make it 27 in terms of the scorpions, I actually don't lag as much inside of the battle. Now, I kind of noticed that when I swapped to bone soldiers during the stream, and then I started lagging. So yeah, that is sort of another thing. So if I would be wanting to stream or make some more PvP content, for me it's actually better to swap to something like this, which actually reduces a little bit of lag. So it, you know, either I make laggy content in terms of PvP, or I kind of swap to this and not make as laggy content with graphics and stuff like that. That's a whole other thing. Now, even another thing, have to take into consideration that the bone soldiers die pretty quickly. Again, there is 114 of them on the field, at the very least in my formation. In some cases, about 50, 60, 70 can get one-shotted pretty quickly. What happens is that every, say, unit that you're losing, you are healing the enemy Balrog. So for example, if you're burst versus stall, this will have a lot of effect. So if you're losing 50, 60 skeletons, the wearer recovers 1% of their basic HP for every non-summon unit that dies on the battlefield. All of this are affected by healing efficacy, healing received, all that kind of stuff. Now, if the Balrog has the Band of Bishop, it's 30% chance that 45% of that healing will be passed to friendly units. Again, that is probably also affected by all of the other things that are kind of still affecting the Balrog. So that kind of means that if 70 of your skeletons die pretty early on, you're going to require to do more damage on the enemy's stall side to actually bypass it. Because you losing 70 bone soldiers is going to make the enemy stall side tankier, because Balrog will be out healing your damage on it. So that is also one of the reasons why it might be a good swap, because again, scorpions are kind of able to withstand a ton of damage for the first like 20 to 25 seconds or so. But again, that depends on heroes. If you have decent heroes, you can actually pull this off and clear faster than the enemy. But if you don't, it might be worse than bone soldiers. So you have to be aware of the two in terms of comparison. So if you succeed to break through, even your own Balrog might actually be able to out-heal the damage and just survive, and you almost flawless it. However, if you take more time to actually clear the enemy stall side, then they would kill some of your heroes on your own stall side. The battle can actually be over pretty quickly. Again, that really depends on a properly built formation. That means if you have bone soldiers, you might actually buy a little bit more time inside of the match because of the invincibilities, the focuses of, you know, one unit at a time or so, and more invincibilities, whatever. However, since you have 9 units, you don't have the same sort of, time, right? So you're pretty much basing everything off of the first 20 to 25 seconds to actually perform well. Now, if you don't perform well, that might be a big loss just from the beginning. So I have to take into consideration that if you will be trying this out, make sure that you are going to be able to essentially swap back your research if that does not help you out. Now, again, I tested it, I swapped back. Eventually, I'm going to be able to swap back probably a month from now, unless something really drastically changes, since then I will be able to make them tier 20. I will be able to upgrade the Cosmic to a level 60 as well. And after that, I will start using them. So my tests in terms of that PvP were actually pretty decent. But yeah, that is what I gotta say about it. Honestly, pretty decent tank. Probably even tankier than Bone Soldiers in the first 25 or so seconds. But very, very, very reliant on your heroes to perform well. So be sure, if you want to try that out, that you actually have very good gladiators and very good paladins. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, do hit that subscribe button. It would help me out a lot. So as if you would wish to support me more than just watching my videos, I have made a Patreon page where it would be able to do just that. In return, I would be able to help you out more individually in terms of events, PvP, formations, and stuff like that. As well as I would like to thank all of my patrons for the support. I really appreciate it for your subscriptions. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Take care and stay safe out there.